Good morning, good morning. It is December 27th, 2019. We've pulled up the old winter desk from last year because, honestly, if I took a picture outside, you would think that it was November. And the temperature today in my wintry state is supposed to be 57 degrees. But we're not here to talk about the weather. In fact, we're not even going to use the winter desk. We're going back to the bare bones desk because we're going to deal with a single issue today, and it has to do with my beautiful state, the state of Michigan. More importantly, it has to do with our politics. Just for reference, for those of you who are not familiar with our state, that orangey bit on the lower left is actually Chicago. And in the highlight, you'll see Metro Detroit. And the way this is shot from space, it makes Metro Detroit look ginormous. Like it's way bigger than Chicago, and it's not. It's just the angle that this was shot at. But for us in Michigan, this is where all the trouble comes from and where all the troublemakers live. This is about a 5 to 6 county area in the brackets, Wayne, Oakland, Macomb, and a couple of other counties, and all of the wealthy people live there, work there, vote there, and make the rest of the state pretty miserable. Just for comparison, if you look at the little arm that sort of shoots off from the middle left of Detroit, that's Lansing at the end of that arm, our state capital. So not unlike Washington State and Oregon, we have a small minority in our state who are progressive, aggressive Democrats who think they know better than everybody else in the state. So let's look at one of those people. We're talking about Michigan politics, and I'm ashamed and sorry to tell you that one of our senators is now embroiled in scandal with regard to campaign financing, not unlike one of our House representatives who also was involved in campaign finance scandal before she even took office. But this isn't about Representative Rashida Tlaib. This is about Senator Gary Peters, an attorney who should know better. So let's see what the Washington Times reported. Senator Gary Peters illicitly coordinating with other dark money groups, watchdog claims. And that's our senator looking a little whipped up. This is by Ryan Lovelace of the Washington Times, Friday, December 20th. This is a story that's been developing, I will tell you, over a period of time, maybe 6 months or so. A right-leaning watchdog has filed a complaint with the Federal Election Commission accusing Senator Peters of illegally coordinating with a progressive dark money group, the second time Michigan Democrat has faced such charges. The Foundation for Accountability and Civic Trust previously accused Mr. Peters and his re-election campaign of illegally coordinating with Vote Vets, a progressive veterans advocacy group. This time FACT, which is the Foundation for Accountability and Civic Trust, said Mr. Peters expanded the illicit coordination to include Majority Forward, another progressive advocacy group. The groups that use, quote, dark money, close quote, do not disclose their donors. Federal election laws place different restrictions on these groups' political activities. Moving along. Kendra Arnold, FACT executive director, wrote
in the FEC complaint last week that Mr. Peters used postings on a designated web page to instruct organizations that he is prohibited from coordinating with to run ads to his benefit. Quote, Peters provided detailed content for advertisements and markets in which to run the advertisements based on the campaign's internal data and advertising needs, and provides it in a format designed to directly communicate with outside organizations, close quote. Ms. Arnold wrote in the complaint, quote, in this case, Majority Forward, when republish campaign materials in the form of advertisements, then, not when. This type of behavior is contrary to federal law that prohibits candidates from coordinating with outside groups and is prohibited campaign contribution. Close quote. Facts complaint also alleges that Majority Forward made an illegal contribution to the campaign with an estimated value of $20,000 to $25,000 by distributing, republishing, and financing the dissemination of campaign material. Mr. Peters' campaign did not immediately respond to the request for comment. In response to previous questions about accusations of improper coordination, Mr. Peters' campaign told the Washington Times that, quote, outside special interests, close quote, were misleading Michiganders with false attacks on the senator and that the public could review facts about his record online. Majority Forward did not respond to requests for comment. Why am I not surprised about any of that? But let's look at something else that happened to appear in my search for a little bit more on our senator, and this popped up. Senator Gary Peters on Coates' departure. Knew he wouldn't be around very long under Trump. And this was published on July 29th, so about 6 months ago, 2019, by Bailey Vogt, V-O-G-T. I'm assuming that's a Dutch pronunciation, but I could be wrong. Anyway, Senator Gary Peters said Monday he didn't believe outgoing Director of National Intelligence Dan Coates would last long in his position under President Trump due to challenging the president and remaining an independent voice. Remember, this is Mr. Peters' opinion. Quote, I was sorry to see Mr. Coates go, the Michigan Democrat said on CNN's New Today. I've had a chance to work with him. I always thought he was even-keeled and thoughtful, and I know he did challenge the president from time to time. When he did that, I certainly figured he probably is not going to be around very long. The president doesn't want people to challenge, and when you think about an intelligence director, you want independent advice, he said. You want to have the best available intelligence to make decisions that are based on fact and reality. That's not something that our current president wants, close quote. Mr. Trump announced Sunday, this was back in July, that Mr. Coates' position would be given to Representative John Radcliffe, a Trump loyalist. Democrats have raised concerns that the pick might be too political, while earlier reporting said that he thought the pick might be too political. North Carolina Republican and chair of the Senate Intelligence Committee, Senator Richard Burr, said in a statement he'd call to congratulate the lawmaker. He added that once Mr. Radcliffe's nomination is officially submitted, he would work to move it swiftly through the confirmation process. Mr. Peters said he's not sure Mr. Radcliffe is qualified for the job, but hopes Mr. Burr's protests spur the other Republicans to speak out. Quote, will Republicans step up and look at the country as what's best for the country, not what's best for the president, close quote, he said. Quote, we've got to move on that kind of partisan politics, but we're already in such hyper-partisan environment, some of our folks have to move away from that partisanship in order to do the best job for this country, close quote. Uh, hmm. Considering this, even though it's in reverse order, considering this article that we first read about Senator Peters taking dark money from political action groups, I find that last quote a little hypocritical at best. You might be wondering, who does Michigan have as an alternative to Senator Gary Peters when Senator Peters is up for re-election this year? Only a only a short amount of time in the Senate compared to many of the senators we're familiar with. Well, we have John E. James. John Edward James, born June 8th, 1981, is an American businessman and combat veteran and was the Republican nominee for the United States Senate for Michigan in 2018. James was born in Detroit, Michigan. At 17, James enrolled in the United States Military Academy, and after earning a bachelor degree of science in 2004, he served for 8 years in the United States Army. After he was discharged, James started to work on his family business and received a master's degree at Penn State and the University of Michigan Go Blue. He was also the Republican candidate for Michigan in the U.S. Senate election in 2018, but lost to the incumbent Debbie Stabenow. James is a candidate for the U.S. Senate in the 2020 election in Michigan. Many, many people in Michigan, when John James was running against Debbie Stabenow, loved this guy. He had a lot of support. Unfortunately, Ms. Stabenow has been in the Senate now for a fair amount of time. She's one of those middle time frame senators. She's got a couple of terms under her belt, but certainly not as long as some of the senior senators who have been there for 20 or 30 years or more. And so why they're calling Senator Gary Peters a senior senator is a little beyond my comprehension. Nevertheless, we do have John James as an alternative, and he's a good alternative. He comes with a clean slate, a military background, a businessman, and a lot of popular support from people of all walks of life in Michigan.
At any rate, this is not our senior senator. He's only been a senator for one term. And if I have anything to say about it, he will not be senator again for a second term. I went to school with this man 10 out of 12 years of primary education, and I cannot tell you how disappointed I am with his policies, his politics, and the image he portrays in Michigan of a do-gooder when he does nothing. This is our senior senator, Senator Debbie Stabenow. She's been a 3-term senator, and she ran against this man, John James, who we just read about, in the 2018 elections. It is my sincere hope and wish and prayer that Senator Gary Peters is defeated by John James, and to the Michigan Republican Party who let John James down during his run against Debbie Stabenow, I say, get it done. All right, deep breath. Why did I bring news, politics, and social commentary to you, having said that I no longer want to do that sort of stuff? Well, it's because of our senator who is up for re-election in 2020. As I've already said, I went to school with him for 12 years. This man is not the man that I went to school with. I don't know what happened to him. I don't know, where he took a left turn out of reality, but I don't want to see him gain a second term. And turning the corner with regard to this channel, I am considering doing some changes again, and you can expect a fuller explanation of that in a day or two when I get my thoughts together. In the meantime, I hope you had a wonderful holiday with your family and friends, and that you will be celebrating New Year's Eve with joy and anticipation and hope for the future. Until we see you again, thanks for stopping by. God bless you, and we'll see you real soon.